The DJ Roundtable Show is live. It's the DJ Roundtable Show. Tell another DJ about the show.
It is Tuesday
Please
night.
subscribe.
It is 8 o'clock. Do you know where your DJ's at? I know where I'm at. I'm here with you. Yes, it is another DJ Roundtable. We got a lot of great smiling faces here. And as always, we try to have many DJs, many different people from many different thoughts and so that. Matt is back here tonight. He's not running around the country and the world saving one wedding at a time from bad DJs, as well as the rest of us. Also, we got John Colley. He's back here again, all the way over from the chill room, and from his fun time over there in Boston. So we have our East Coast DJ, we have our West Coast DJ, we have our other East Coast DJ, Chris, up in New York, and we have another Midwest DJ, of course, is Dwayne in Ohio. Hopefully we'll have a few more people popping in a little bit. We'll see what happens. As always, we thank you for watching out there. Always greatly appreciated when you're sitting there and watching, and looking forward to see some stuff in the chat, questions and so forth. And I want to thank you all for watching. All of my new subscribers, thank you for subscribing over on YouTube. And if you haven't done so already on YouTube, do me a favor, help me slay that beast and not be one of the 81.6% of people last week that watched my channel and not subscribe, which it's free. It doesn't cost you a dime. You just hit the subscribe button. So do me a favor, hit the thumbs up, like this video, subscribe, make sure you hit the bell icon, make sure everything's cool with that, and then share the video with another DJ so we grow this community, grow fun. And as always, Chris loves it out there with the, he loves having all the little thumbs up and all the other emotes, so I greatly appreciate it. And as always, I thank you for being here, and I want to go on with the panel. With everyone here tonight, as always, I always have some great topics, and I always have my sheet of topics. But I wanted to talk about something that I've seen a lot lately. And I know Matt got a chance to see it out at NAMM when he was out there. And I know it's not his favorite brand in the world or his favorite thing in the world. He likes playing the bigger sound systems. But the Evolve 50s, what's going on, Crossfire? Evolve 50s, which is a standard DJ speaker for a lot of DJs. Really nice speaker. I have RCF J8s. Similar, to the Evolve, 12-inch woofer. You have multiple drivers on top. Good rounded sound. It's not going to shatter the world. It's a great sounding speaker. There's a few other ones. I know QSC just came out there, 12. But with the invention, or you cannot say the invention, but you also say the coming out of the 70 and the 90, a 15-inch and 18-inch subwoofer. Do you feel that arrays, you can say column array, line array, whatever you want me to call it, because manufacturers call it everything, come out with a 15-inch or 18-inch woofer is a game changer? Or do you feel that, hey, you know what, a 12-inch woofer is pretty good? And I have, Maui 5s, I have the DBs, they have dual 12-inch woofers, which is kind of like equal to like 18. Trust me, it has a lot of bass. And you have other people who just go, a two-way system, a point array speaker, be it a ELX or a K12 or whatever speaker you want to put up there, and subwoofers. But do you feel that a manufacturer should come out, especially like, maybe LD comes out with a 15 and 18-inch subwoofer? I know the 44, if I remember correctly, is a 15, but maybe come out with a dual 15 or come out with a dual 18, as well as for array, make it a bigger unit than what it is now. I would hope that any manufacturer out there, again, this is just DJs talking, spitballing, stuff like that about this. I would hope any manufacturer would look into it and see if it's feasible, one, and two, is it not cost prohibitive? Because the 70 and the 90, they're up there in cost, but again, you're getting a 15-inch woofer or a 19-inch woofer, and they have a lot of SPL on those speakers. And I know from, again, I've not seen one in person, but I know from photographs and looking at people standing next to it, they're monster speakers. They're not like the normal the 50s or the 30s or a Maui 5. They're quite substantial of a speaker. So uh I like to hear from Dwayne first because Dwayne also runs line arrays. Uh, what do you think and what do you feel about a speaker? Do you think more manufacturers should get into a 15 and 18 on a array, or do you think that EV EV maybe one hour manufacturer and that's it, or hey, you know what? I don't think EV. A few people are going to get it, and it's going to be kind of like, okay, what's next?
Well, me personally, I don't have like events that require a big amp like that. So I really wouldn't have like a good opinion as far as a 15-inch subwoofer because when you start making things bigger, that means the prices is going to go up. So it's really something that um I might not be able to afford, especially when you try to get two of the same. Also, being that it's bigger, it's probably going to be heavier. Being that I'm a smaller and then getting older person, having to lug that around is another issue that I would have to look at. But for me right now, at, looking at the type of events that I do, is like carrying a big speaker like that wouldn't do me much, it'll be overkill. But if I was to do bigger like school events or something, that might be something to look into because you don't have to worry. You can basically get in a unit that's put together as opposed to bringing extra speakers. So I can see a plus in that.
And what about, again, you mentioned the one thing with weight and stuff like that. I feel that is a huge thing, having a lot of weight on something. And Brentley, who's not here tonight, he brought up before, if you're going to go into the 15-inch or 18-inch subwoofer, why not just go to a point system and get a two-way speaker and a subwoofer? There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Kind of have a different take on it, but I think that with arrays is the ease of setup and takedown more than a two-way speaker and a subwoofer below because a little bit less cabling you have to do back and forth between the two, a little less power cables you have to worry about. It's a little bit more compact, a little cleaner of a look. But when you look at having a subwoofer, a 15 or 18 subwoofer, is it for every single event? That's up to the DJ. Some people they feel that an 18 inch is better than having a 15 inch or a 12 inch or a 10-inch woofer. But I feel kind of like you, Dwayne, that you should have the right tool for the right event, not have it too big of a speaker and not blow people out, make people's ears bleed. But I'm gonna go to John. Because again, he plays with a lot of different speakers, including he gets to play with the DB speakers, like kind of like I have. And he's done corporate events, he's done speech events, he does weddings. He actually just came from a beautiful mountain in Maine, doing music on the side there for skiers. What do you think of arrays, and what do you think of a 15, 18 needed, or do you think more manufacturers come out with a 15 and 18? As an option.
I have a few thoughts on that, but before I get started, I just wanted to check in with Dwayne on the International Space Station. Now, how long have you been waiting up there? I know I believe you'll be rescued soon.
I don't know because on what I'm hearing that's happening down here, I'm thinking I'm safer up here.
Oh, okay, all right. So you're going to stay put where you're at for a little bit. I admire the spaceship. That's very nice.
Especially when the aliens are coming next month, huh? Coming to Earth.
You keep an eye on that asteroid for us. That's coming, right? Yeah. We want to know enough time in advance. So
Dwayne will know first because he'll look out the window and be like, "Oh man, that's it." Hit the alert button. There's the alert button right there. He'll go smash the alert button. That'll be it. They'll be going off.
There you go.
Grab my little controller.
Take care of that for us. Take care of some side work up there. The whole idea with the arrays is it's a convenience speaker, and it has a sweet spot. It's not meant to play a school dance. You're asking it to do too much. It's a smaller footprint. It's quick and easy to set up. What a lot of the guys out here that have the 30s and the 50s, if the crowd goes from that 125 to 175, suddenly there's more people. Rather than bringing out box tops and everything, you just add a sub throw a sub under the table and run it on your booth out. You've got a little bit more bottom end. You can throw a little further. The array speakers as a whole tend to sound pretty good, but they have their limits. They're not designed to do more than that. It's something you can set quickly, have a neat footprint, and get in and out with them. Now, on the opposite side, if you're playing a bigger room, you're going to do speakers front and rear or in corners. You bring in bigger stuff and you expect that's going to be the workload, but that's overkill for a room of 100 people. So you wouldn't want to work that hard for it if you don't have to. Now, I haven't heard them yet. Now, I know there's been a lot of talk between the 50s and the 70s. I guess the talk of the town is that the 50s are a little tighter, a little more punchy than what you get out of the 18, but that remains to be seen. I'll probably see them next in August at DJX. I'm sure they'll be set up down there right beside, the QSC booth, and I'm hoping that they're going to have the KC12s down there, because I already have the 12-inch box, and I'll get subs for days. So to buy something that I can already compensate for, it seems like overkill. I just, you just play softer. I don't have to take 15s. I can take 12s and bring a decent sized sub with it and be able to handle 75 people, 175 people. And if I need more than that, you've got that at your disposal, because it's the expense, it's the weight, it's carrying the stuff alone. And you go to the venue and it's up a flight of stairs and this and that. If you can get away with using lesser gear, do a site inspection, find out what you think is sufficient, and start there, and don't make extra work for yourself. That's probably the long and short of it.
I think also because again, you've dealt with the DBs. You did a party with those. How big was that party you did with the DBs?
I did a New Year's party. It was a good sized function room, and they didn't struggle at all. I didn't push them hard, and they were more than sufficient. They were up there like 134 dB. It was the 1208 system, 1206. It's a big beefy bottom end speaker. Yeah. But having the race car doesn't mean you have to drive 100 miles an hour. It's you have the luxury there. You got songs that are soft. You can push them. You need stuff that's down, but they sounded clear the whole way through. Like, I like DB, but again, they're expensive. If you can outsource them and buy them from out of the country, I understand they're a little cheaper if you get them off some of the German pages. But here they're pricey. So you'd be doing a lot of gigs, and you're gonna have a need for that power of the speaker. Whereas you could probably get away with using EVs or QSCs or JBLs, stuff that's sitting on shelves here that's easier to get.
And like before, I had the DBs with the 1002s, which is the difference between the tops is on the one that you dealt with. The top splits into two units. You can split it two separate units versus this is just one complete unit. So it's the same base unit, same basics. DSP is a little different because it doesn't split, so it had a different DSP. But amplifier is actually the same amplifier, so the same SPL and everything like that. The big thing is that again, I've used that speakers for 2 gigs. Now I have a couple gigs this year. I'll use them for the bigger gigs because they throw pretty far too. They're a little different than the JH. JH will throw pretty decently far, but these will throw much further, and they're very powerful. I've yet to crack them all the way up. It's just they're beastly. Now J8s, I've gotten close. Like the wedding I did, 260 people. I got close to the higher part of that, of the not the limit, but below that. And that's the thing, is that you have to look at what you're doing. If you're doing a wedding, a party of 50, 60 people, a Maui 5 is fine. If you're doing a wedding with 200 or 300 people, then you got to go to your bigger stuff. That's when you start getting the side fill, or do you start flying arrays and you start getting into bigger and bigger systems. The other thing also you got to think about, like you said before, the convenience factor of the array, but you have to also think about is how elaborate you want to go with a setup, how elaborate you want to get into it, and what sounds really good. What sounds good to you, what's going to be pleasing for your customers. And that's one of the things that, talking to some of the other DJs, they talk about horniness. I don't mean horniness in a dirty way. I mean horniness versus the horn on a two-way speaker. It has a lot more highs to it. So it could be that more of a piercing sound to some people's ears. And you take down, a lot of DJs will do is take down a mid or take down a high a little bit, just like lessen that piercing. you don't get that as much on an radio with a point source speaker. And that's the difference between technology between the two, having a tweeter and a woofer, and then if you need a subwoofer. But it is very, very interesting, where this is all going to. And I see Kevin talking, and again, Crossfire DJ, what's going on? Glad you're here. Glad you're here, Kevin, as well. Um, I'm doing fine. And then Kevin says, these Rays you mentioned, are they Ray Stevens, Ray Charles, or Ray Parker Jr.? Oh, dad jokes.
Kelly's young. He left out Stevie Ray Vaughan, but that's
Yeah,
okay.
Stevie Ray Vaughan, you forgot him. There's a few other Rays you forgot too. Uh,
Sorry, thing saying. But
and I
you got
had
to
him
figure
at
too,
horniness.
these manufacturers, right? They didn't just jump into this game blindly.
No.
I'm sure their forums were ablaze saying, we love this speaker, but can you make it louder? Can you make it bigger? QSC didn't have one up until the new release, and EV had smaller ones. And I'm sure that was the complaint everybody had. They're trying to ask a little system to do too much. So, I mean, in the production development, it probably took 3 or 4 years for that to go from drawing to physicality, right? So now there's bigger ones. And is that sufficient for the forums, or are people still going to complain? It's all about taking the right rig to the gig.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is that people will DJs out there, some DJs will still find fault in whatever you present. And speaking of that, Matt is back from his little vacation, running around, being busy and stuff like that in beautiful California. Now, you got a chance to see the Evolves, and again, I know you're not a fan for the sound of the Evolves. You like RCF a little more, you like LD a little bit more. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. It just boils down to when you saw those speakers and you looked at them, and you heard the QSC, you heard the EVs. Do you feel that there's room for in the market for a array that does a 15 or 18-inch woofer? And do you think a few more manufacturers should come out with it, like RCF or FBT or anything like that?
I mean, I'm kind of with John where it's supposed to be portable. Like that's the whole appeal of them. I think people are trying to use them in applications that they shouldn't be. But I also get it that like you want something pretty that works for a wedding, and you want to have that headroom, and you don't want to be clipping, and you want to be able to handle 120 sweaty bodies on a dance floor screaming a song. And but you also want to be able to fit this system of two subs and two tops in a mid-sized SUV is what I feel like this is designed for. Even just like I have a Tahoe, and I couldn't fit my whole setup with a pair of like the Maui 44s, but with those um HKs that I had for a bit, I was able to fit those and lighting and cables and everything I needed because each sub would fit in the back seat. The columns would stack on top, and I would have the rest of my area to do that with. So I think once people start seeing these EVs in person, they'll realize like they're big. They're very big. They're about the size of my DB Tech IG4Ts, the white speakers I have. The columns are huge, and the subs are, especially the 18. Obviously, it's an 18-inch sub, and it's 72 pounds, I think, and it's not really portable at that. And at that point, it's like, you know, might as well just do a point source system. So I think though, like you said, I think there's a sweet spot if QSC. I think QSC should have done like their cardioid, the 212C that they have, and done like a three-way top on top of that, or whatever. Yeah, I think that would have been the sweet spot because that 212 is pretty compact, and it has really nice clean low end, and it can pair of those can rock a party. I like the sound of that better than the sound of the QSC KC12s, but um, I also did order a pair of the KC12s, so uh, that's that's me. So I got them at just above dealer cost. So keep that on the DL, but talk to your Guitar Center reps. They can work some magic for you. But there was an issue with the initial launch with some bugs, so apparently latest update is late March now. So we shall see.
Well, yeah,
Is that holding up your delivery, or I'm sorry, buddy. I was going to ask you, was it holding up your delivery, or is it just going to be a firmware thing you can do later?
That's the thing is you can't update the firmware with a Mac computer, so they were just I
Find
know,
that
right? Yeah, I know, right? So
wrong. You get a
they,
PC there.
What? They can't do a Mac with it? What? Oh
I
my
know.
God. The world's upside down for Matt.
So they decided to hold off on shipping the white ones, and other ones that had the issue, is what I've heard. That
Okay.
was 2 or 3 weeks ago.
I have an old compact here. I can loan you. I can send it to you.
Yeah, yeah, but they were also doing like they were redoing quality checks because they had some issues where they weren't putting screws in.
Oh,
It was
jeez.
all bad. Yeah, it was
Not ready for prime time, basically.
yeah,
That's not
they
good.
kind of rushed. And then,
Quality control.
when I spoke to somebody there and I had asked about like the gap, he's like, "Yeah, these are pre-production units. The real ones shouldn't have like a noticeable gap on there, but it seems like they do." So, I don't know. But to answer your question, yeah, I think there's a sweet spot. I don't think we found it just yet. And I don't
Someone loaded the wrong CAD
yeah.
file.
Yeah.
Now you have
Touch.
again with the RCF the arrays. You have what the NX4s.
An XL 24 Mark IIs, and those are see, but that's the thing. Like my version of a column array, like is a main speaker. It's a point source level speaker in a column form factor, so it's designed to handle a crap ton of people. But it's also not powered off the sub, and it's not convenient to set up. That's the thing. Those HKs, I could get set up in like 30 minutes with those and some lights. Like they, you just pop the sub, boom, boom. The fact it's one power cord and one XLR cable, and you're done. Like I get it. I get the convenience. So it, I don't have those anymore. I sold them, I think. But I do like the idea of columns, but again, they're not going to be for a huge venue.
Well, again, having the right tool for the right job. That's I said before. You got to have multiple tools in your toolbox. If the only
Yeah.
tool you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail, and you're not gonna be able to do anything with it. You can't fix everything with pounding it. And it's one of the things that I know all of us here and all the DJs who are normally on the show as well, they all have different speaker systems and all different manufacturers. There's no one manufacturer is the best. It's all boils down to what you like personally. I got what two people QSC, right? John, you're QSC. Chris, you're QSC. No, you're JBL or EV.
ABL.
JBL. Okay. Dwayne, you got you have what do
The
you have?
Harbinger column arrays, the MLS's 1000s, the EV 200 ELX system,
Okay,
and then I
EVs.
start off with the Behringers.
Okay. And then Matt's got, like me, kind of like almost everything under the sun for speaker wise. He's got LD, he's got RCF, he's got now some QSEs coming, he's got all different manufacturers. And
Fun
that's the thing
choosing
is
what
that
to use.
having a couple different manufacturers, in your in your toolbox, it's not a bad thing. Again, I equate it back to tools because that's the easiest thing to think about. If you go to a tool store, you go to Harbor Freight, they're going to be cheaper than going to get tools off a Mack truck or off a Snap-on truck. Big difference in price. Now, the Icon stuff at Harbor Freight's going to be much cheaper than the stuff from Snap-on. Warranty-wise, probably difference in qualities. I'm not a mechanic. I don't work with it every single day, but for like me, I can do that. Go over to Harbor Freight. Would I prefer Snap-on? Oh yes, because I have a couple Snap-on tools, and I could tell you the quality of them is very extremely high, and they're worth the price. Are they worth 4 or 5 times the price? Unfortunately, I think they are just because the quality of it. But you, as the buyer, the purchaser, the consumer of that product, has to decide, is it worth for you? What is worth for you? Is it worth going to a store and getting a couple Harbinger, arrays versus going to, let's say, to Sweetwater or Hollywood DJ or NLFX Pro or one of the other DJ stores and ordering a pair of Evolve 70s or a pair of LD, Maui 44s or whatever you're going to order. Is that worth doing that or doing this? Well, that's entirely up to you what you want to do and where you want to shop. And one thing I would always recommend, like what Matt said, talk to people. If you go online, buy everything online, the price is always going to be map pricing. If you call up a place, talk to people, you'd be surprised we can get with pricing with stuff. That's the thing. They had to advertise a certain price when you walk in the door or you call up and actually talk to a person. Like when I call up Sweetwater, I talk to my sales rep, there's always a little bit lower price. What that price is, it could be a dollar less, it could be more. It all boils down to what room they have in the product. And then Kevin
And
said,
talk to I was gonna say, like, you guys would be amazed. Talk to Guitar Center, post in the group, get yourself like, I've got a guy. If you want his info, I'm happy to give it to you. He's works for Guitar Center Corporate, and I mean, he hooks me up with great prices. That's much lower than Sweetwater and Zounds and IDJ Now and all these other. I mean, usually it's like 20% off. So, Guitar Center has, now that Sam Ash is gone, they've got a ton of purchasing power and they order in such bulk quantities that they can really hook you up. So, and they price match too. And what's nice is if you don't like it for some reason, you got 30 or 60 days to return it. You just drop it off at a Guitar Center and just keep the box. That way you don't have to ship anything back. You don't have to pay for shipping. You just, even if you order it online. So I know Guitar Center used to be the laughing stock of us DJs, but I mean, it still kind of is sad when you walk in there. But they've got quite a range of stuff. So
well,
never, I don't knock
every
them.
time I go on to Guitar Center, usually the person I talk to is, someone who is a guitarist or a drummer
Yeah.
and there's nothing wrong with that. Everyone here, I think everyone here knows how to play an instrument. I know how to play keyboards, piano and stuff like that. John knows how to do drums, and he was doing, there's a cool video of him doing bass. Dwayne over there plays stuff. Chris, I think you play instruments, don't you?
I had percussionist.
Yeah. So you got another drummer, and John, and Brentley, he plays instruments too. So there's a lot of people here are originally or has a little bit of musical background. I wasn't in a band or anything of that, but I learned it because my mom had me go take piano lessons. So, and then I got a keyboard, and I had a Yamaha keyboard, and I had to play on that and play and basically mimic what I heard on the radio. And then when I got into high school, I had music class for 2 years, and I got to learn how to read music. So it's something like that. They're not DJs. They don't understand everything that we go through because I've walked into Sam Ash Guitar Center and talked to them, and a lot of them don't understand. Now, again, there's even Sweetwater. A lot of them are not DJs. Sweetwater is not designed for DJs. They sell a lot of DJ gear, but they sell much more musical instruments. When you go into a DJ store, like again, Hollywood DJ or some of the other specialty stores, they do talk DJ much more. And that's the thing, is that, you have to kind of know what you want, but if you have questions, ask other DJs, drop lines at people and ask people questions. Kevin's over here blowing up everything over here. Crossfire, I see that you're still on the fence on arrays. Uh, I understand that. Will that work for you? I could see that working for you. A couple of arrays. For what one, I would definitely recommend for you to take a look and maybe hear a few or talk to a few friends. And again, you can always reach out to me and talk to me. I've talked to you before. More than glad to share what I've done and stuff like that. Kevin, well, if I had a hammer, I'd hammer in the morning and hammer in the evening all over this land. Oh God.
You got to hammer out the warning, though. If you've never heard the speaker, don't buy it sight unseen.
Yes.
Find a DJ who's got the gear that you want to purchase. Ask them if you can tag along. Shadow him for a gig or stay for a couple of minutes. This is where we're going to crank it up. Here's where you're going to hear what it sounds like in a real room with real bodies in front of you, and make a decision. Don't buy in haste.
Kevin also says I like this. Kevin also says I like the sound of that. Hey, Kevin, you forgot to capitalize the I. That's an annoying thing. I see that. It's like, come on now, capitalize the I. And I take Soul Info again. Forgot the I, and forgot the O and on. Come on, man. On the down low, that's what he says. You gotta make sure you capitalize it. Hit that shift key. You can't click that fast on your phone. Uh, Kevin's a great guy. Kevin's been on the show before. Kevin's always great. He's got great insight and a great sense of humor. But Chris, I wanted to go to you. What about you? Again, you're JBL. I have JBLs. I have my PRX still. I had the full suite of JBL SRX and Eons. What do you feel about arrays? Would you go get like the PRX array or the Eon array, or would you say, hey, I'm happy what I have now, or do you think arrays they should come out? JBL should come out with a 15 and 18-inch woofer with a an array system.
I don't know. I'm happy with what I got, but I know I will need to upgrade or replace my current old JBL PRXs that I've got. I mean, I bought two subs to match with those 15 tops, but I definitely would be interested in some column arrays, but which brand and how big I want my column arrays is the next thing. And I mean, the EVs look great, but what were those designed to really be for? Why did they come out with this next evolution size? Is it to appease the people that are power hungry, that want more power, like Tim the Toolman Taylor, and they want to keep the aesthetics of what the current industry and what the clients are looking for at their events? So if they're trying to appease two parties, they could have it down. But again, this is the first generation of having gear at this size for this function of being column arrays. So who knows, that next generation would probably be even better. And maybe you might even impress Solstice, on the second gen. So that's all thing I'm going to say. I mean, Solstice will probably say this about a Mac. The first gen M1 processor chip they had for the Mac, what was it? It was kind of crap. They had a lot of problems. Look at the M2, so much better. Now they're up to M3, and M4 is coming out soon. They're only going to get better. They're only going to make the improvements. They're listening to their clients, their customers, and they're seeing what the technology can bring. So will EV come out with something in next generation better? Who knows? But obviously this has been impressive. There's some people that are being oligarchs and they don't want to bow down. And obviously the LD systems have done great work. They're up to how many different generations now? Third generation stuff. They're getting more impressive as it goes on. So find out what gigs you're doing. That's all there is to it. Do you really want to have the look of a column array? If you really desire that to stay on top of the edge of your competition, that's probably what you're going to need to look at. And then can you backlift all that heavy stuff? That's the way I personally see it. And I would not mind owning shall we say, the bigger of the smallest column arrays, and of course the biggest column arrays. That way now I have two of the best parts of them, and then I still have my traditional tops and bottoms.
And that's one of the things when you're looking at stuff and you're going out there looking at product. I really feel EV, and again, I know EV, some people like it, some people don't like EV, and that's fine and great. But EV as a manufacturer, I'm talking manufacturer side, not the product you see.
Yeah.
EV is Bosch. EV listens to what DJs want to do. If you look at the eVerse 8 for what it is for technology wise, they put a barrel plug on there so you could plug into it and run off the battery a microphone. That right there is a huge thing, and I've yet to see another manufacturer as of right now.
Oh yeah,
do
that was impressive.
Very impressive.
I am very impressed. I would have gotten the eVerse 8 back in August, or was it the 12? I don't know which one. I almost won a pair. That would have been wonderful if I won that eVerse 8 on that stage.
Well, now the eVerse 10, so they've grown the eVerse family a little bit. The USB port on there that charges, your tablet.
Yeah.
So you can charge your tablet or phone at the same time and run off that battery. I think there's some intelligent stuff there, how they have a tray for the top so you can put a receiver on there for a microphone. Now, for me, the way I do it, because I do body packs and do lav mics, and I like to have a little mixer and stuff like that, and I run out XLR out. Doesn't work for me. I much rather grab my battery pack and go out there and plug in some of the stuff I have I can run battery. That's not a problem. But I much rather do that because I like a little more control, especially with lav mics. You got EQ them a little differently. On Everse 8, you can't do EQ as much on
Well,
the
what
back.
was EV's intention for the the Everse 8 with that barrel connector for the power output, the USB Type C for charging, the tray like you mentioned? They're looking for you to get into their Everse,
Well, yeah, they're trying to
Eversality.
get you into their
They don't
product,
want
and
you to use it for anything else. They want you to continue buying EV products, and
yeah,
I think
but they're
that's a great
listening.
start.
They're listening to what DJs are asking for.
Right.
I've heard before DJs like will go battery operated. They've asked for this stuff before, and EV is actually listening, saying, "Hey, you know what?" And again, other manufacturers can take a look at it and say, "Hey, if
Right.
Bosch can do it, why can't we do it?" And
Hmm.
that's the thing. I think other
It's a powerful
manufacturers,
statement there for them.
yeah.
You know,
Well, again, you look
they're trying to
well,
be innovative, and I honestly, I gotta applaud them.
oh yeah, but if you look at the iPhone, Apple got rid of the headphone jack. Samsung got rid of the headphone jack. Apple.
Bad choice.
I know it's I don't like that. They're not listening to us as a consumer, but they're seeing what other manufacturers are doing. Internal battery can't replace it. Okay, Apple did it first, and then Samsung and other manufacturers followed too. So it's kind of the same thing with wireless devices of them doing it. It's kind of the same thing also in the speakers too. They see what someone's asking for. But again, EV, I'm sure there's been DJs saying, "Oh, I like the Evolve 50. I just wish I had more bass, more output, more this, more that."
Right.
Now, are they going to make a battery operated 18-inch dual 18 sub with dual columns on top that does 300 SPL? And the battery's the
Probably not.
size of a small Volkswagen? No, they're not
Probably
going to
not.
do something like that. They're not going to do, something crazy like that. But can they come along and put an 18-inch subwoofer on a speaker? Sure. Can they do some more stuff? Sure. What you call it? Yorkville has a battery operated subwoofer. So again, they're out there. Manufacturers are coming to it. How well they're selling is another question. How well is Evolve 50 and 70 going to Evolve 70 and 90 going to sell? I don't know. I won't know because I don't see those kind of numbers. But
Time will
if they're
tell.
selling and people are buying them, God bless. What do you think about that, Dwayne?
Fine with me.
Are you eating something, sir?
Yeah.
Oh,
Eating my
see,
Smarties.
Share what it is.
Space
yeah, you gotta
rations.
share,
Got
man.
space ice cream up there, man. You better start sharing those ice cream sandwiches.
Are you ice cream sandwiches, man? Oh man,
I call
vanilla,
it
chocolate, or Neapolitan?
I like vanilla.
traditional cookie.
Just vanilla.
Yep, traditional.
Yep.
Oh man, see, you got the good stuff. What about you? What about you, John? What do you think about?
Well, just circling back a couple of things you went through, like the Everse 8 exists, the Everse 8, 10, 12, because it's a niche market that someone says, I want a battery operated ceremony speaker. Oh, what do we need to do to make that self-sufficient? We need the USB-C to plug in a tablet. We need a barrel connector for whatever kind of microphone you're in. So that's, like you said, EV listens to what the people want, if it's going to help sales. Because, I mean, they tested it first. I mean, the 8 came out, and the demand was very high very quickly. And I says, oh, and again, I'm sure the follow-up conversation was, can we get it a little more powerful so we can be a little further away? Can we get the speaker a little bigger? And I think the other change that happened between 8, 10, and 12 is now that the battery is replaceable. So that if you do exhaust the shelf life of the rechargeable battery, it's a little bit of a project, but it's doable. It's not so locked in that you couldn't do that down the road. But for those to do that, that's a wedding market. I mean, or you have to set up a remote speaker in the room, and maybe you Mickey Mouse a reverse microphone so you can send a signal to it while it's in a different room. I mean, there's different reasons for having different sources of power on the speaker in a contained area, and that's very smart to incorporate all that stuff because it's got a lot of practical uses, not just ceremony. Yeah, you can do more with it. As far as getting bigger and bigger on the arrays, if they're going to put, a battery operated 18, it better come with a forklift, because it's going to be weighing itself out of the market. I mean, you can run them on Jackeries and you can run them on different power boxes. If you bring a couple to switch in and out, ideally for the bigger heavy duty stuff, you want real electricity. These are just little convenience things to make your job a little easier when you're set up on a lawn in a pavilion and there's no power, so you're not pulling your hair out. I think they do pretty good with listening to what people want, and band people too. If you're an instrumentalist and you play an amplified acoustic guitar in front of the subway station, now you get some places to plug stuff in. So they thought of a few different applications. I think they were very smart in listening to what the people wanted.
And the Pecron I got, the unit I got, is not the biggest one. It's kind of like the middle of the road one. They have ones that are up there in size, and it's like anything. You can go much bigger. The one I got is 40 pounds, and we've done a couple gigs with them and used the battery up, on a couple Maui 5s and trying to see how to stress out the battery as much as I possibly could. And I did, I had a video up on YouTube. Did a gig that was multiple hours long and still had, I want to say, like 35% of battery, 40%. So it could go for another hour or two more. But it's like anything, there's technology out there. You have to decide what's best for you and what works for you. But I'm glad to see manufacturers are listening to us as DJs and asking, what do you want to have? Legging manufacturers sometimes do that. You have some of these new manufacturers come onto the market, like Sheds and Beat Topper and stuff like that. They're the original manufacturers in China. They're not rebranded. They're actually the ones making it, versus some of the other brands they have someone else make it for them. They don't own the factory. Someone else builds the light for them. And no difference between the two. But the thing is that, they come out with stuff and they design things that, here you go, to market. They're not listening to us as DJs because they're just, hey, look at this new light. Look at this. And some of them, yeah, they work great. Some of them, it's like, why do you come out with that for? I just saw a video the other day talking about, or actually a post the other day talking about sparklers and how dusty they were. There was a guy, he had apart his moving head, and he's blown out all the dust he has in the moving head from the sparklers. So that's the other thing also, is it's, you want this stuff. Well, sometimes what you want, you got to be careful what you wish for, because you have repercussions of it. You're stuff to do. Matt, you got sparklers, right?
Yeah, I have like this permanent line that's like embedded on my MacBook because of like the dust that somewhere. I don't know how it happened, but there's like a line, like you can't really see it unless it's in direct sunlight, but there's this like faint line that goes across the screen, like along the coating of the screen, and the sparklers, like when that dust gets on your laptop, and they just, yeah, I don't put them anywhere near my booth anymore if I can help it, because they also, get all over the speakers, and even though they're not flammable, like they still do like spark, and so
Chemical.
yeah, so they'll like etch glass, yeah, they're not fun to deal with.
Very damaging.
Yeah, but we use them. I mean, we use them almost every weekend, and they're cool effect. People are always. I mean, I've been using them since 2019, and people are still just as amazed by them. And they're like, "Oh my God, you can." They always think that they're real, but it's amazing that it's still a very cool wow factor. So, I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon.
This
Just
is
like
true.
the tube. People think that I think people don't notice the tubes as much as like a cold sparkler, but I don't know.
I feel that, like the light tubes are a little more background-ish because
Very
they're
aesthetic.
dance lighting, but they have a cool look when you
It's
have them
eye
on, cool
candy.
color.
Yeah.
And they throw light out there and they give a mood to the dance floor. And that's
It's just
that's what I
basic
want
eye
to do.
candy,
Uh,
versus a
John,
sparkler. It's an effect.
yeah, John, you deal with the sparklers here and there with the main company you work for, 617 Events, right?
Occasionally, but there's so many limits and restrictions of the indoor places. I mean, we sail out of a boat on the North Shore out of Gloucester that does like a 3 hour on the harbor, and we'll do them on the roof deck because you're outside in the wind on the ocean, But as far as halls and venues, most of them want nothing because of liability, because of cleanup. I mean, there's a lot involved, and it's for a 10-second effect. There's a lot of mopping and cleaning that comes into
That's the
play.
same thing here. A lot of
You
places
know,
don't want it because of the massive cleanup and are like, no, 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 we don't want that. And I don't blame them. You
and
know,
it doesn't just fall like ash; it's sticky ash too, and it takes a little like elbow grease to get rid of it once it's down. So as I say, and just the liability. We had some situations of going a few years back with a nightclub that was had some issues with a sparkler system, and there was some injuries and deaths. So most of New England wants nothing to do with it indoors, especially. So that's just kind of where we're at. And the West Coast, it might be good, if you got decent outdoor places, or you're doing barns or something where it's at least paved, so you're not like on hay or anything that's potentially flammable. So you have to just
we
keep that
know
in mind.
John and I and Chris know one DJ that does a lot of events in California, and I know that most of his events are outside. And that's the other thing with California is the threat of wildfires. And if you're doing a lot of stuff outside, that could also be another thing. Chris, you don't do sparklers, right? You just do the foam, right?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. So you could put a fire out but not start one. There you go.
I put out a lot of fires.
Dwayne, you don't do sparklers, right?
Nope.
Have you ever thought about getting it, or you ever planned on getting it, or
No, because it just seemed like it's a hazard. That's a problem that's waiting to happen that I don't need to deal with.
it's like dancing on a cloud. I know there's a lot of DJs who love that and they sell it. God bless. But to me, dancing on the cloud, the couple of things you don't think about is the condensation you get on a dance floor. It does make the area wet. You have a lot of humidity you're putting out. You got to get dry ice. You got to bring in, basically it's kind of like a mop bucket. You got to fill it hot water. It's got a heater. You got to drop the dry ice in there, have the effect, pull the dry ice back out. You get it like, so many times of doing it, and it's done or over with. And it's
And
a
mop
lot
the
of
floor
expense.
immediately so no one takes a header. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
And
I
that's
don't
that.
get
It's a
yeah.
lot of logistical stuff and timing. Sometimes
Hmm.
It's the
some of
only
these machines, you have to time it just right when you drop that ice in, and how much the water heating up, make sure it's the right temperature,
Uh,
drop it in. Are they ready? And not like
have them turn
it's a
out the
lot of time. You
AC, turn
need.
out the air conditioner because
Yeah.
you don't
only
know
thing
what
I get nervous to do now is that dancing on a cloud because you really only get one shot and
Yeah.
you got to time it right with the heating up. You can also add the second on a separate circuit to really heat it up in like 20 minutes if you need to. Because I've
Mm.
set a timer to myself to like during cocktail hour plug it in and like first dance is in 15 minutes. I'm like, oh my God, we forgot to plug
Is it
it
ready?
in.
it's not
Right.
So
ready. Yeah.
but it's a pain. Like I leave it. I I've mastered it to where like I'll leave it plugged in until it's like they're literally out there for their first dance because I'll have like my
Yeah.
buddy just be like I'll tell him press play, let me go get it, and I'll make it work. But
Well,
it's
the other thing also you do CO2 cannons,
yeah, we do the CO2 a lot.
and
That's more just heavy and annoying because it's heavy, but uh yeah, we do those a lot.
I did see on Ray's site on Top Light DJ that he had I can't remember what show it was. Well, the
Oh, with the fog
show,
gun, yeah.
yeah.
They off he just gets stuff from China, but I think, but or has like, partnerships over there. But I've seen it from a few different Chinese suppliers now, the same thing that Froggy's Fog was selling for like $5,000, which is like it's a battery powered fog machine gun. So it like sprays a little faster than a regular fog machine. It's kind of like the geysers. So if you put a geyser in a gun form, that's what you get. But it also doesn't really make sense because why wouldn't you just do CO2 at that point?
Well, the one I saw was him with it's like a sparkler gun, and he was
Oh
shooting up
yeah,
in the air.
they have those
But
in China too.
but
Yeah.
the thing
I,
is that if you look at like CO2 cannons again, you have the CO2 cannons. How many times people have hit each other in the face, either intentionally, unintentionally?
yeah, it is. I mean, I don't tell them, but like if you I mean, it's ice cold. So if you're like real close range with somebody and you're blasting them, like it can freeze you.
Oh yeah, you can get frostbite. This
Mhm.
carbon dioxide gas coming
Oh,
out. Liquefied carbon dioxide. Uh, it is very very cold. That's the stuff that gives pop its fizziness. It's the stuff that puts out fires because it displaces oxygen. It's something that can be a dangerous item. It's around us all in the air. It's just very
I'm
much
sure you could
it's
suffocate
liquefied.
someone.
Yeah, it's around us all the time. But when you do this, you have a concentrate as that, and you're squirting it out at someone's face. You could hurt someone, and it's just like people who are not
Great sentence.
understanding lasers.
Great sentence, by the way. Squirting it out at someone's face.
Oh, jeez.
Every
T-shirts.
time
That's
I make
going
me
on a
laugh.
T-shirt. Yeah.
Oh,
Hey, you know what? You want to put your mind in the gutter there, Matt? You can go ahead and do
don't
that.
shoot in the face.
Thank you for making me laugh tonight. That was I needed that.
That's what I'm here for.
Don't shoot in the face.
I always tell them shoot it in the air. I always tell them shoot it up, but they never listen.
I think I think we can say here that's what she said. Don't shoot in the
Hmm.
face. um, since Dwayne had some delicious snacks, I got a couple here. Delicious snacks. I have gummy oranges and gummy green apples. These are from Walgreens from the Nice brand. This is same as they have bananas and they have what's the other thing I can't think of right now off the top of my head, but they have bananas which are really good. You can actually peel them, so you can peel the outside. It's the candy outside wrapper. It's not a wrapper. They look like gummy bears. You can peel the outside of the candy. You can eat it and you can eat the inside like the banana. You can peel the peel and eat the inside and then eat the peel. It's really crazy stuff they have there. I have not had the apple or the orange yet, but it looks the same that you peel the outside, like peel the orange, little piece of candy. Inside is a little smaller orange. You eat the outside, you eat the inside. It tastes delicious. I'll find it out later. But speaking of candy and fun and sweets and stuff like that, you always got to have that stuff. Um, Really quickly, before we get going here, I know that with spring is in the air, spring is here. Technically, um, it starts in a little while. And next week is, if you're in one of the areas, which is most of the country, is you raise 1 hour ahead, or you go spring 1 hour ahead, or you go an hour ahead. So daylight savings time starts. Um, with all the fun stuff coming up with, spring and with time changes, are you as a DJ keep on top of that with timing with your customers. So what I mean by that, are you talking to customers and saying, hey, you know what? You need to have this into me by this date for your event. Are you keeping up with it? Because especially with the time change, people get weird with that. And I've seen people go like, oh, I didn't think about that. I didn't think about this because of the time change. And they kind of
It's two
lack
o'clock in the
in
morning. Who cares?
people.
Unless you're
People
working
do
a
care.
bar or nightclub. Like if you're
Oh,
doing a party, most parties end at 10,
it's going to
11.
put people in a better mood. That's all, because it'll be brighter longer. That's all. People get out of that depression that they've been stuck in since October.
Yeah.
Finally, be
And that's
happy,
the thing.
shiny,
2
happy
o'clock in
people.
the morning. They should be
Eh,
already drunk and happy, feel good. That's what you
well,
expect. Oh, we worked an extra hour overtime. Let's get the party going now. What? They lost an hour.
and this is true.
Hmm.
But are you, as a DJ, are you keeping up on that? You watching the time change and stuff like that? You're prepared for it, all ready to go for it?
You see,
Absolutely.
it's going to change your sunset photos if you're outside. Just be aware that it's a different calendar hour now.
I
So
do
Yep.
notice like in the fall, um, weddings tend to start a little earlier because of that. So, instead of the 4 o'clock start, typically out here 4 to 10 is normal wedding time. But we had a lot in the fall that started at 2 or 3 and would end at like 9:30 or whatever. And now it's more and more is going to everything starting at 5 or 4 or past that in the spring and summer. So
Mhm.
it also gets hot. I mean, not brutally hot, but it can get pretty hot out here in the summer sometimes. And you don't want to be sitting out there in 105-degree weather and for an hour ceremony at 4 o'clock in dead afternoon sun. So
105-degree weather. That's pretty hot. That for us mere mortals will melt.
It's
Us
I've done
non-California people, that's hot.
It's the
I've
humidity that gets you,
Yeah.
or
yeah,
sometimes the lack of humidity.
I've done ones in the middle of summer in Palm Springs, and it's 100 plus degrees and dry as can be, and then the wind starts to kick up and it's just dry dust blowing in the wind and it's just miserable.
Yeah, this is why I like indoor stuff, especially when it's hot out. Indoor weddings, like hey, let's have your wedding inside, not outside. Beautiful pictures you want on the green of the golf course. Yeah, it can be a little warm out there. People pass out. You don't want that. I've done that, been there, not fun. A couple things from Kevin. He says Kamala race to him will work with big crowds if their goal is to listen to speeches. If they want to play music, then you might have to problems. But how many weddings do you get 300 people and all 300 people dancing? There's always a lot of attention to the point where those work fine with the amount of people on the dance floor, keeping it nice and hot there. This is true.
Yeah.
I'm one of the people that like to have a hot dance floor and a warm room, and line arrays do that very well. And that's why when people complain about line arrays, and I point to 260 people doing speeches, not a problem from one side to the other side of the room where the head table is at. There's video up there. Heard that speech is fine, clear, beautiful. And the dance floor was a dime in the middle of the room, and the sound more than covered it. The last song, you hear people singing, but you hear the song as well, and you hear the bass. Again, I think that's the best cover of everything. And I don't want to make it so loud that people's ears are bleeding. And again, that's my thing. Um, he also says my goal is to have a lower SPL, a medium SPL, and high SPL set of speakers for events. For the high SPL are traditional speakers, medium are the arrays, and the low is traditional or a array. And he asked, you you got mayo gummies? No. I know how much you love mayonnaise. No, I will not ever, ever, ever buy. If they came out with mayo gummies tomorrow, that is not my jam. I know you put mayonnaise on its hot dogs. And here's a fun fact of hot dogs, since I'm Chicagoan. Two things, Chicago facts. I'll leave you guys on this. The reason why Chicago is so adamant against ketchup is because originally when hot dogs were being made, if you had poor quality meats, you would put ketchup on it to hide the quality of the meat. And places who did not use poor quality hot dogs, use all beef hot dogs like we do here in Chicago, use mustard because they wanted to show pride in the meat and you could taste the beef. So that's one of the reasons why ketchup is looked down upon on hot dogs, is to show the pride of the meat and the quality of meat. Now, that's a traditional thing of Chicago. The other Chicago thing today, March 4th, is Chicago's birthday. The city of Chicago's birthday is 188 years, or 108 years young or old, wherever you look at it, as incorporated as a city in the state of Illinois. The state of Illinois is incorporated in the year of 1818, and today, March 4th, is the city of Chicago's birthday. Happy birthday to the city of Chicago,
Happy
as well
birthday,
as anyone else
Chicago.
out there celebrating their birthday. And if you ever get a chance, you can Google it, the city seal, the city of Chicago seal. You'll see the actual founding date of the city of Chicago on the city seal. So there's some facts for you tonight that you can use in trivia sometime, and that you may never really have to use again. So as always, I want to thank everyone here on the panel. Thank you tonight. Kevin said he did hot dogs on the grill tonight. I want to thank you all tonight for coming in here tonight and spending your beautiful Tuesday night with us. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, please make sure you hit the like, subscribe, and follow. John, I want to thank you for coming in here and spending your time here with us.
Happy
Matt,
to be here.
good seeing you back here again. Again, I know you got some stuff going on. You're always busy with irons in the fire, going to all the cool stuff. The man is on a mission. I know a few other people like that. Dwayne, thank you, sir, and Chris, thank you. And again, the other DJs who are normally here tonight. A lot of people have stuff going on. It's, people are busy, kids, family, so forth, so on. We want to make sure everybody has time with their friends and family. And we want to thank you. If you're part of the family here, thank you for watching. I appreciate every one of the people watching the show. Make sure you tune in, make sure you watch, and make sure you follow us and follow the journey. And tonight, I'm going to actually have Chris take us out tonight on the show. Chris, if you don't mind taking me out tonight, brother, I appreciate it.
All right, fellow DJs, make sure you please like, subscribe, share these YouTube links that Buddy's been sending out. We need some subscribers, and that's the DJ Roundtable on Tuesday night.
Thank you all. Have a good night, everyone.
Monday.